This is Dinesh Kumar here. In this video, I would like to talk to you about what Ahmad Maslan said regarding government announcing allocations in a constituency where by-election is taking place. So, on Monday this week, after delivering his speech at a mini ceramah in Kampung Makauswa in Sungai Bakar, he had a press conference where he told reporters that it is not an offense for ministers to announce allocations in constituencies that are having by-election. He said that such matters have been brought to the court by the opposition party that lost the contest in the past, but decisions have never sided with the party that brought the case. He cited an example of an old case back in 1981 where Tunku Razali Hamza, who was then the finance minister, was dragged to court by DAP as DAP said that Tunku Razali Hamza allegedly said in a campaign speech in Pengkalang Kota constituency, this was a 1980 election, so DAP claimed that Tunku Razali allegedly told the voters in Pengkalang Kota that if they voted for Barisan Nasional candidate in Pengkalang Kota, they will get that constituency will get a lot of government allocations. So DAP said that it was an inducement that constituted bribery. The promise that Tunku Razali said was basically a form of bribery. In order, we can say that it was aimed as to persuade voters to vote for government candidate by coming up with this kind of cash promises and so on. And Ahmad Maslan has since defended his statement given to the press after Bersay called him out for that. Bersay said that announcing allocations during by-election, it is still bribery because I'm not so sure whether many of you remember this or not, but last year election court in Terengganu nullified the election result in Kuala Terengganu. Basically a past candidate by the name of Ahmad Hashim, he was forced to vacate his seat by the court after the court fined him guilty for vote buying. So basically what he did is that he attempted to get voters to vote for him by distributing financial aid from the state government. So the election court said that he had bribed voters, and therefore Amzad's election victory was nullified and a by-election was held in Kuala Terengganu. Past weirdly, they nominated the same guy, Amzad, and he won the by-election. So Bersay said that yes, it is, while the court ruled in 1981 that it is not wrong for the government to announce allocation in constituencies that are facing election, but still court also ruled in the case of the Kuala Terengganu election result that Amzad did bribe the voters by giving out state government's aid to the folks in his constituency. So to Ahmad Maslan, I would like to say this: judges are not infallible. They don't always get things right, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to, insult the judges or whatsoever. I have no intention to menghina mahkamah, but judges do get things wrong sometimes, and very often judges, especially those from the lower courts, they got called out by their peers in the higher court whenever a case goes to the appeal. I believe that many of you who follow court cases religiously have came across several instances where a case goes to appeal in the appeal court, and then the appeal court or even the federal court judge will say that this judge in this court has made an error in their rulings and so on, and therefore that ruling is rejected. I believe many of you have heard these kind of stories. It's very often reported in news portals as well. So given that, I think Ahmad Maslan should not use the 1981 court case as a decision, as an argument, as a solid argument that can be used to further justify government giving out or announcing allocations during election season, because it is clearly bribery. I mean, there's no way to explain this around. I mean, you cannot beat around the bush with this issue. It's clearly bribery. I mean, when a government leader, doesn't matter whether he's minister or not, come to a constituency that is having a by-election, and you give up money when you announce allocation, it is clearly made with that intention to entice the voters to vote for their candidate. That is bribery. There's no way you can argue this otherwise. I mean, if Ahmad Maslan is correct, then why do you have an election court in Kuala Terengganu nullify the Kuala Terengganu election result, saying that Amzad gave bribes to his constituents? Why do you have Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim in weeks before Sungai Bakap election reminded ministers not to break election laws? I think many of you still remember that Nga Kombing was called out by Bersih for announcing allocations in Kuala Kubu Baru, which had its by-election last month, and also announced allocations in Sungai Bakap as well before the by-election start. So Anwar Ibrahim, he apparently he got to know about the backlash received by Nga Kombing, and he has issued a reminder to all ministers not to break election laws. So Ahmad Maslan, I would like to ask you this: if giving out or announcing allocations in constituencies that are having by-election is not wrong, then why is it that your big boss is calling, basically like giving warning to ministers not to break election laws by announcing allocations? So who is right here? Your boss is right or you are right? So I think Ahmad Maslan is clearly making a stupid offense over here by defending government, by giving out by coming up with this kind of statement saying that government can give out or announce allocations in these constituencies and so on. Yeah, and also it's not just about bribery, but in this issue it's not just about bribery, but it's also about making sure that the election process is held in a fair, level playing manner. Because whenever government does this, doesn't matter whether it's a PH government or a Barisan Nasional government or a Perikatan Nasional government, when they do this kind of stuff where they come into a constituency, announce or promises cash incentives and so on, it creates a lot of advantage to their candidate, and obviously oppositions will have a very hard time trying to convince people to vote for them because they don't have the money like what the government has. So very often the election will become unfair, the contest will become unfair, and it's not really good for our democracy when you have government simply having the edge over the voters by promising cash incentives and so on. So Ahmad Maslan is clearly being irresponsible for coming up with this kind of statement. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that people like Ahmad Maslan come up with this kind of statement, because UMNO, by the way, where this guy comes from, Ahmad Maslan is a UMNO Supreme Council member. So UMNO for a very long time they believe in this mantra. By the way, this mantra was introduced by Najib, called cash is king. If you have the cash, you basically can win elections. This is the mantra they have lived by for many years before their downfall begin in 2022. They pour in cash into constituencies, thinking that if they pour in cash they can win elections, but it didn't work for UMNO very well. I think we all know what happened in 2022. So Ahmad Maslan, I don't think so he's going to apologize for his remark, but it is important for NGOs and ordinary citizens like me to call him out for coming up with a silly statement like this. And I wonder whether or not the cabinet will come up with a law which will bar any political parties, doesn't matter government parties or opposition parties, from promising cash incentives, because we really need fair elections, and this is not the way how you do fair elections when you have the government simply announcing cash to voters during campaign period. That is all from me.